It's Jeff back with Trash ADV. A little more work on the Goldwing project. We're gonna do Superbike install, get rid of those big ape hangers. Use the regular controls for now. Like I said in the previous video, we may be swapping those out for something a little more modern or whatnot. That master does need to be rebuilt. That's something. The other thing we're gonna do, so that's going. We'll keep that. These grips are going. I hate those grips. So that's going to stay for now, but eventually we'll see how the angle is. Once it's on the Superbike bar, it may not be at a good angle. These are going to go the rear rack, so that's the other thing we're going to try to get done today. I don't have a lot of time. Obviously, we just jerry-rigged this, so that's on the purchase bucket list, is a headlight bucket. Bucket. Yeah, there's a little bit of an oil leak over here, and I wonder if that's from the valve cover, so I'll have to trace that right there. Which, I mean, it's an old bike, it's been sitting, so there's probably some rubber parts that are perishing. That doesn't look too bad, but it does look like that's pinched right there a little bit. You guys probably can't see that, but something that will need to be replaced is the only thing holding this valve cover on and keeping pressure on the gasket are these rubber things, and basically it's a rubber insert with a chrome washer, and those keep pressure. Eventually that rubber will perish, and it'll harden up, and then it'll no longer put good pressure on here. It'll split, crack, and then people will tighten them down to the point where they strip those bolts, because it's just steel bolt going into aluminum. They're still available from Honda. At least the last time I checked, they're still available from Honda. We'll have to pick some up. And actually, the XT250 project that may or may not happen, the 83, it uses that same system for its valve cover head. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and get started. So I think what I'll do is I'll stick you guys in time-lapse mode and just get cracking in, and I'll stop it and switch over if there's anything interesting that pops up, okay? Hey. Boom, boom. We're going from that to that. If you guys can see that okay. Stay. Okay, put you back on time-lapse. All right. So obviously I gotta get on this and just try it out. So that's one reason I've left the seat in the back end until I get this. Now, a couple of notes. On some controls, when you're doing a bar swap, there's a space there because there's a nub in there. Maybe I'll put some light in there. Sometimes that nub is plastic, and in this case, because Goldwings are made pretty beefy, and it's right there. Anyway, even if you can't see it, you'll know what I mean, or you'll see it on your own. And what it does is it locates the controls in a certain spot in the bar. And so you've got two options when that happens. You can either cut that nub off and use a friction to keep it where it is, or what you do, if you guys can see that, you cut a hole or drill a hole in your bar, and then the nub goes into that, and that keeps your controls from rotating when you're hitting the switches and stuff like that. So with the plastic, I usually just grind them down and leave just a tiny bit of it left, and that usually increases the friction, and when you tighten the screws up, it locates it on the bar pretty good, which I might do in this case. It's metal, so if I just leave a small bit of the nub, it should bite into the bar. I might drill it, so I haven't decided that yet, but I'm not sure if these bars are going to be the bars anyway, so I got to sit on the bike and I'll test it and see what I think of it, the position. Now the other concern we have is this thing right here. Now I hate these grips, they're just gross. Now that one came off just fine. This one is gonna fight me because it may be bonded to the throttle tube. A lot of times the throttle tube is included, so you buy the grip with the throttle tube already in it, and you just slide it on and put the throttle tube in, because the end that goes in with the cables is almost always universal in most of these Japanese bikes. This one should be pretty standard. You should be able to find a throttle tube, but it's something else if you're doing this kind of bar swap and you're trying to get rid of these ugly grips or something like that. You may run into where you're gonna have to buy a replacement throttle tube. Put you back in time-lapse mode. I'm gonna sit on the bike and see how I like the bars. I could stay with these bars too and just do some risers here. And I thought about maybe even doing a fat bar, which is Pro Taper or Renthal, or there's lots of Chinese knockoffs, and basically what they are is the bar that comes here at the clamp is 1 1/8. It's not 7/8, which is what a standard Japanese handlebar is. Harleys are standard 1 inch. So this goes to 1 1/8, and then it tapers down to 7/8, so you can maintain your 7/8 controls, but you get more rigidity through here. It just looks cool. It looks modern. but I'm not sure that'll fit with the aesthetic that I'm going for here. I mean, I am kind of going for a mix of modern / retro, because the bike is retro, but I don't know. So the 7/8 bar was relatively inexpensive, so we're gonna try that first and just see what I think of it. So I think we'll just stick with the 7/8 bar for now. Now, obviously, the other concern you're gonna have whenever you go up in height, like raise it on an ADV bike, you're looking at maybe your cables are gonna be too short. In this case, my cables are way too long. And this clutch cable is now routed weird. There's a sharp bend in it, so it is really hard to pull, and we don't want that. So what I will be doing is most likely just rerouting these cables at first, because I'm not sure if this is the bar or the height I'm going to be at when the bike is finished. So I'm not cutting or replacing any cables now. There are several tutorials on the web on how you can replace or shorten cables. Another shout out, I'm fond of these, I guess, is Michael Waller. He's a British guy who builds, he lives in, I think, New Hampshire or somewhere in there in New England now. But he's a machinist by trade, I think. But now he builds classic trials bikes. He's rated into trials. He's an older gentleman. He's got some great tutorials on how to either get cable kits or shorten existing cables, and how to put the nubs, the little knobs back on it. There's two types. You can either do a solder or you can do a screw-on type. It's difficult to do because I don't know if they're ever quite as strong as they are from the factory. So whatever. But if you got a custom bike, and that's what he does custom bikes, right? Like builds his own frames kind of thing. He needs very specific types of cable. So he usually buys the sheathing, and then he buys the cable, and he puts it all together and does the ends himself. Great channel to check out, and it's a great tutorial on how to do cables, much better than I can do. I haven't really had to do too much of that stuff in the past, so we'll have to see what I do with this eventually. But we're not touching the cables today, and probably not for the foreseeable future. I'm just going to reroute them in a way that, yeah, it'll look like some odd loops are going over, but it'll be fine for now until I decide what to do. All right, I'm going to put you back in time-lapse mode and see. I'm going to check the handlebar position, see if I like it, and we'll tighten the bolts down for now, and then we'll tear off the rear end. So back to time-lapse. Hey, so it looks like this is going to be probably it for today. Got all those racks off, and now I got to work on that rear caliper. I stripped out the bleeder. This is another bleeder from another bike. Looks like the bleeders are supposed to be on this thing M8 by 1.25, but that's not exactly what we got going on here. So that's an M7, and I had to tap that, but so I could swear that it was an M6. But anyway, I'm going to stick this back in for now and wrap some towels around it. But this will be the next project I'll have to work on. That brake fluid just destroys everything. I'll put that in just for a minute. It's going to leak anyway, but because it is leaking, but we need to fix that. That's going to be the one thing. Whether we have to replace the whole caliper or what we've got to do, I don't know. But that's going to leak, and it destroys paint and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, so we'll leave it like that for now, and then I may have to get a new bleeder. Maybe if the bleeders were an M6, then and I tap that to M7, then if I pick up an M8, I should be able to retap that even better with an M8 1.25 and put a new bleeder in it. It'll work. So that's the next project. If that doesn't work and I can't get that sorted, then it'll be to eBay for a new caliper. So we got the headlight off just because I needed to reroute those long cables and stuff. So I got the clutch going over the clocks, which isn't ideal, but at least it's, you know, I can work it okay. It's not too stiff, it's not routed too weird, and it's okay for full lock. So it's a little stiff, but not too bad. The clocks aren't going to stay like that anyway. Like they're gonna move. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this center console. I've seen a lot of guys put stuff down in here. So the idiot lights and the fuel gauge and stuff might go right where this Goldwing logo is in the glove box here, and then the two clocks will be moved closer together and then laid flat, something like that. I don't know. I do have a little leak in this master right here. But it's around the base. There's this piss cup, I call it anyway. It sits down in, and there's an O-ring, a round O-ring in there. And I'd say it must be leaking around there. Tightening this up might help a little bit, but it probably won't. It probably does that O-ring. And this is just pinching the cup down and the cover on. So I don't think tightening that's going to help at all. The bars haven't got as much pullback as I was hoping they would. I don't know whether I'll just do some risers or whether I'll actually down the road swap the bars up for something else. We'll see. But as you can see, the tail, I mean, hopefully this will kind of give you an idea what we're talking about here. So we got a lot of cleanup here in the rear master. This is where you put air in for the rear shocks. That needs to be really cleaned up. I'd say there's some leaking there, or has been in the past, but that needs some attention. I was trying to bleed the brakes the other day and it wasn't bleeding, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then I realized, but this brake line here goes up and then it goes in under the tank, and then it reroutes down here. So it's a linked braking system. So this brake here only runs the left front brake. The brake on the right disc is linked to the pedal. So I've really got to get that, unless I change that and reroute those hoses and do like a Y hose or something like that. I really need to get that rear brake working and fixed, because I'm compromising my front brake, which is why I was realizing, man, this is really weak when I just use the front brake. So I really need to get this bleeder looked after and get that rear brake cleaned up and everything. I don't know what this is. I'm gonna guess that this was the starter had been replaced on this at some point, and that looks like it's a ground strap. And just to make sure he's got enough juice for the starter, he's just ran several small gauge wires instead of running one big wire. So that's got to be sorted out. The starter should be grounding on the body of the engine, so that'll have to be sorted out. Cause I'm not leaving those wires like that. That's horrible. Oh, but this is janky. This cable is the throttle, or the cable for the tack, and that's jinky too. And then this disgusting, horrible seat. I mean, it's comfy in its day, but there's something spilled all over this. It's all sticky, and anyway, that's got to go. So, and I'm not a fan of the pipes, I gotta say. I like the upswept part of them, but this downturn, they gotta go. They gotta stop about here. So they're gonna get chopped, and I don't know what else. Something. They're in pretty good shape though. I hate to chop them, but maybe I'll take them off and try to figure something out. I've got the Triumph pipes off the old Bonnie. I wonder if they'd fit up there. Yeah, we'll see. They've got some rust on them, which is why they got taken off the Bonnie, but they're the Triumph, the Tours, the Triumph off-road only mufflers. So they would have to be sandblasted, powder coated or something like that, because there's some rust bubbled through on one of the pipes. Must have been a Monday morning job. Well, I guess that's it for tonight. Next job will be to chop the fender. We might tackle the seat, and we got to do something with the rear fender. I don't know what we're going to do, but we got to come up with something small there. But we'll take the seat off and have a good look at it. Like it's how much, where the frame lines up and all that stuff. Plus, it needs a good cleaning. I'm cleaning little bits in here. I cleaned most of this, but I got to get in here and really get in with the toothbrush. And I think I'll show you guys how to clean up chrome. There's lots of video tutorials, I guess, but what I find is aluminum foil and a little bit of water really cleans up pitting on chrome. It makes it look almost new, and because the aluminum's softer than chrome, it doesn't really scratch it. Because we do have some pitting here, and nothing in the travel of the fork, and that stuff is not bad enough that it's going to matter. Like it's really going to, that is all going to clean up. There won't be anything left. Even this stuff up here, whether you guys can see that or not, that's all going to clean up. Not that I'm a big fan of chrome, because a lot of that's going to cover up. This is getting fork boots. It's a shame that the covers here, these are aftermarket chrome covers originally. I don't think they were the same in 83. 82 and 80 to 82 definitely were aluminum, and people would polish them. But I kind of like that brushed aluminum look, but yeah, I got chrome down there. But so those aren't going to change, but definitely going to have as much chrome is going to get blacked out or colored out or something. Like I'm not a big fan of just spraying everything flat black either, but definitely gotta do something. So anyway, I'm rambling. So for Jeff, Trail Trash ATV, Goldwing Project, day 3. See you in the next video.